What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, March 19th, 2021. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. It's kind of a busy news day. As usual, we're going to do news for about 1 hour. Then we're going to open up the phone lines for your comments, questions, and observations. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. So let's get right on into it. First news, of course, is spring officially starts tomorrow. And you may have a hard time convincing people out in Colorado and the Rockies about that, but it is officially spring as of tomorrow. And so, spring is finally here. We got through the winter, and it wasn't all that bad, although it was certainly worse than the one that we had a year ago. All right, let's get into the news now. We are still seeing the fallout from this war of words between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin, where Joe Biden said that he looked into Putin's eyes and he saw that he has no soul and that he's a killer. And Putin has come back and said it takes one to know one. And Putin has now upped the ante by challenging Joe Biden to a live, unscripted debate as soon as possible, to which the White House has already responded saying, well, Joe he's busy, he's really got so much to do, and, he can't really do anything unscripted anytime soon here, and, of course, we know what that's really all about. They're saying he's quite busy with other things right now. Joe Biden did a speech recently about the COVID, during which he mentioned President Harris 3 separate times. And probably a lot of people didn't catch that because only 1,100 people tuned in to watch the speech. But it is very revealing what's going on. People are asking who's really in charge because of this gaffe during this speech here. And on top of that, on his way to Atlanta, Biden stumbled and 3 times on the stairs of Air Force One. The last time he basically went all the way down to his knees and had to get up again. And there was a noticeable limp as he finished his trip into the presidential jet. So, and he gave a salute and then flew off to Atlanta to deal with the aftermath of the shooting down there, and in charge of mutating the story into one of racism rather than an insane sex addict. Investigators, speaking of that, are saying that nothing is off the table in the massage parlor shootings, including the possibility of saying they were hate crimes, although I'm sure the guy pulling the trigger really wasn't fond of those people. But police admit regret for saying the killer who bought the gun hours before the attack had a bad day. Biden has ordered flags at half-staff for the victims of the Atlanta shooting, which is unusual because normally flying for the flags at half-staff is an honor reserved for officials and famous people. But we've seen the flags lowered for half-staff for the victims of other things and shootings and so forth and so on. It kind of sort of cheapens the gesture, if you will. Okay, over in the Chauvin trial, they're in pretrial day 9, and they're arguing over the admissibility of George Floyd's prior drug ingestion. They've seated a 10th juror, but apparently some of the jurors have already been kicked on out. The first candidate, 86, was struck quickly. She told Judge Cahill she'd form a fixed and biased view of the defendant. The second was struck by the state, and the third was dismissed by the court because she was personally familiar with one of the key witnesses in the case. So that is still going on. Over in Portland, murders and shootings have skyrocketed after George Floyd's death and the defunding of police. And there's been a staggering number of murders and shootings after the death of George Floyd. It's touched off an ongoing series of violent riots that are continuing to this very day. And they're just having a heck of a time, trying to deal with that. Okay, over in Minneapolis, they're describing it as revolution by day, devolution by night. Violence shootings, murder, mayhem mark life in the George Floyd Square, otherwise known as the Autonomous Zone, in Minneapolis. All right. Over at the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, conservative pundit Dan Bongino is going to take over the late Rush Limbaugh's coveted 3-hour airtime slot across several major markets, according to Cumulus Media's Westwood One, which is a shame. I've been waiting for the phone call. I thought if anybody was going to get that slot, it was going to be, but gosh darnly shuckies. No, Dan got it, and congratulations to him for that. Glenn Greenwald has an article out. He's been talking a lot about how corporate media operates to convince you that what they're telling you is the truth. And his latest article is saying that basically when a corporate media outlet starts spreading a significant lie, other journalists will hop on to social media and say, oh yes, it's definitely the truth. You know, we've heard our own things about, and they're just reinforcing each other. It's kind of like this giant media circle jerk. Over at Spotify, they are now censoring song lyrics that contain, quote, misinformation, end quote. And this is basically a flashback to how art that offended the Soviet Union was blacklisted. So Spotify is now playing the same game. Music icon Ian Brown revealed that Spotify had deleted his anti-lockdown song Little Seed, Big Tree that was released last September. So we really are getting into Soviet-style dictatorship here. Story coming on out of blabber.buzz. You know, Facebook is now basically acknowledged to have helped sway the 2020 election away from Donald Trump and toward his fraudulency, Joe Biden. And one of their executives, Benny Thomas, is admitting Facebook has a very strong bias against conservatives. And he said, you know, they were very successful at their voter drive to get Democrats registered to vote. But he admits, yeah, they have an institutional bias, and that is a very, very dangerous thing for a social media company with as much reach as Facebook has. Alrighty, let's talk about COVID-19. There is an interesting little story. This is out of Zero Hedge, and it reports that COVID cases are spiking in 13 states over the past week, which would be okay, except that these states have a high vaccination rate. And so what we're seeing from this story is the more people are getting vaccinated, the more people are reported as coming down with COVID. Now remember, my doctor got the COVID shot and 3 days later came down with COVID. Now, she's a little buried in the orthodoxy and is convinced, oh, she must have had the COVID before. But, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble here. Meanwhile, another story coming out of Children's Health Defense, that's Robert F. Kennedy's Jr.'s outfit, reporting something that we already knew already. Pfizer's COVID vaccine is already the second highest revenue-generating drug in the world, but the company plans to turn the vaccine into an even bigger cash cow once the pandemic ends. Now, comments made by Pfizer's CFO Frank D'Amelio, Forbes, and Fierce Farmer reported the company is going to get more on price once the pandemic wanes, and we are no longer in a pandemic pricing environment. We reported this about a week ago, saying that they're going to goose the prices up to $156 per dose from the current $20 that is being charged to the U.S. government. Pardon me. Down in Florida, Governor DeSantis is saying that proof of vaccination will not be required to live your lives as free people in Florida. I'm beginning to really like Florida and Governor DeSantis, but he's basically saying that no, they're not going to do the vaccine passport things down there in Florida. Interestingly enough, this morning, the lovely Lady Claire went out to the nursing home to visit her mother, which was the reason she got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so that she'd get that little card saying, I've been vaccinated. And oddly enough, when she got to the nursing home, nobody asked to see the card. It was apparently a non-issue there. Another story, this one coming on out from the Daily Mail, and they're trying to put the best possible face on the adverse reactions from the vaccine. This one from the Moderna mRNA vaccine, and it is leaving people who get the vaccine with giant red rashes that cover like the entire upper arm where you got the shot. And they say, well, this is a good sign that your immune system is ramping up to prevent the infection. The blotch is a harmless response to the immune system, and it'll go away in a little while here. So this is what we're hearing. The red blotch, that's a good thing. Fatigue, that's a good thing. Dizziness, that's a good thing. Nausea, that's a good thing. Your arm falls off, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, it's a good thing, it's a good thing. You will believe this is all good stuff here. We are seeing from an article in Cuz Blue that Joe Biden might lift the COVID international travel restrictions in mid-May. The White House is aiming to relax the bans on flights from the United Kingdom, Europe, and Brazil, and allow Mexico and Canada border crossings after all adults are eligible for the vaccine. Okay. Now, down in Florida, they have reopened the schools, and so far there is no indication that the schools are becoming COVID-19 super spreaders. Of course, there have been research projects already done that we reported on showing that kids in a classroom aren't really able to infect each other. And so Florida is basically taking that to heart, and they've reopened the schools. And they're not seeing super spreader events. The schools are also open here in Indiana, although next week is spring break. Now, Dr. Fauci wants to start vaccinating little babies with the government's coronavirus vaccine. We talked the other day about how they want to start testing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on young people as well. Now, a lot of people are still saying, why'd you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Part of that, of course, is our concern over the adverse reactions being reported from the mRNA vaccines. But there is that other story we reported a while back where researchers at Sloan Kettering had discovered that the mRNA vaccines were suppressing the natural cancer-fighting ability of your body. So that when you get that mRNA vaccine, you have an increased chance of coming down with cancer somewhere down the road, which is a good thing. Remember, these are all good things. Certainly, it's going to be a moneymaker for the medical industrial complex. Over in Israel and Palestine, the West Bank hospitals are just totally inundated with COVID patients, while Israel is now tossing surplus vaccines. And it has since emerged that the few photographs that came on out showing Palestinians being vaccinated, those were the only Palestinians who got the vaccine, and pretty much the rest of Palestine is being left to twist slowly in the wind. Story coming on out of fluoride-freed-peel.ca up in Canada. Freedom of Information requests are revealing that health and science institutions around the world have no record of the COVID-19 virus being isolated or purified anywhere ever, which makes you kind of wonder, where are they getting the genetic information to key these mRNA and DNA vaccines off of? And, you know, a lot of people are still saying this is a mislabeled flu, that this is really the seasonal flu, and they put a label on it to make us all scared. Across the country, prison guards are refusing the COVID vaccine despite the massive outbreaks of COVID within the prison system. So even they are very concerned about the safety and efficacy of the vaccines. Alrighty, story here out of 21st Century Wire. Bill Gates is financing and influencing nearly every major institution driving the global pandemic narrative. And they're saying it is far beyond the limits of what you would consider just a coincidence. And the funding is going to London's Imperial College, the London School of Hygiene, America's Center for Disease Control, the CDC, Anthony Fauci's National Institutes of Health, the Wellcome Trust, the Vaccine Alliance, Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness, and on and on and on. And they're all being funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And you know, Bill Gates is a big fan of vaccines, especially for population control. All righty. If you live in the Coachella Valley, pardon me, the much anticipated return of the Music and Arts Festival has been canceled, due to COVID-19. It had been pushed back to October. Now they've decided it will not be held until 2022. Meanwhile, over in the theme parks, the amusement parks, Disneyland especially was featured in this story. Visitors to these theme parks are being told not to scream or breathe heavily on the roller coasters in order to control COVID-19. Now, obviously, this comes from somebody who has not ridden on a lot of roller coasters in their life, because breathing heavy and screaming is kind of the idea. Screaming maybe, but breathing heavy, I mean, it's a big adrenaline rush. It really, really is. I remember when I worked at Magic Mountain out in Southern California, every single night before I would go home from work, I'd hit those roller coasters. I just love those ones, especially the steel ones here. In other medical news, over in Spain, lawmakers have legalized euthanasia and assisted suicide, bringing an end to the 10-year jail sentence that was basically applied to anybody taking part in euthanasia or assisted suicide. The law will come into force in 3 months' time. The vote passed the parliament by 202 to 141 with 2 abstentions. Okay. Getting to the international news now, Biden is considering keeping troops in Afghanistan until November. He already hemmed and hawed and said he couldn't keep to Donald Trump's promise of a May 1st withdrawal. Then it came on out that we actually have more troops in there than were being officially acknowledged. And now Biden is saying, well, we're going to stay in Afghanistan until November. And the reason, of course, it's profitable for the military-industrial complex. And that leads us to a story that we got out of Zero Hedge about how the Pentagon leaders sabotaged Trump's Afghan withdrawal. And this is from an interview with the Gray Zone. Colonel Douglas McGregor, who's a former senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense, revealed that Donald Trump's presidential order calling for the withdrawal of all troops from Afghanistan shocked the U.S. military. And so the military and the Pentagon went to work to figure out ways to make sure that did not happen, and it appears, sadly, they have succeeded. All right, the U.S. and China have begun the first high-level in-person talks of the Biden administration up in Anchorage, Alaska. This happened yesterday. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with China's top diplomat Yang Jiechi and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. As expected, the talks were contentious. Both sides traded barbs. Blinken set a hostile tone and opened the talks by saying actions by China threaten the U.S.-led rules-based order, meaning our rules that you must follow. And China came back saying that the United States must respect global order or face a more violent world. And this comes amid warnings over issues like Hong Kong and Taiwan. Meanwhile, the U.S. is warning China it will enforce sanctions on Iranian oil shipments. And apparently shipments from Tehran to Beijing are surging. A senior Biden administration official told the Financial Times that Iranian oil exports to China had been increasing for some time now. And they're going to enforce the sanctions. Okay, we got to take a break here for commercials. We'll be back with more news after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. And again, a reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is somewhere in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser because we need your continuing support to keep doing what we are doing. And once again, the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And if you mail in a donation of $100 or more, include your t-shirt size and your return address, and you will get an official RBN t-shirt and the bragging rights that goes along with that. And don't forget that Frontside Firearms promotion is still going on. Okay. Getting back to the international news, North Korea is getting ready to sever diplomatic ties with Malaysia regarding extradition of citizens to the United States of America. So that tension is building up. Meanwhile, the Secretary of Defense Austin to North Korea saying the U.S. is ready to fight tonight. So they're trying to crank up a little bit of tension there. And technically, the Korean War against North Korea has been ongoing for something like 60 years. And there's been a ceasefire, but there's never been a formal end to that war. So it is America's longest running war. And Austin also said the U.S. remains committed to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. That's a non-starter for negotiations with Pyongyang. And a more realistic approach would be an offer to ease sanctions in exchange for a freeze on the nuclear arsenal. So we'll see what's going to happen there. Over in Ukraine, they're opening up mortar fire. They're starting up that war in the Donbass region. Meanwhile, Russia is deploying the S-500 missile as the NATO and U.S. ships enter the Black Sea. And it is very alarming to see all these military assets in close proximity with each other, because it's going to take one mistake or one hothead to really get the shooting going. Over in Israel, settler attacks are increasing against the Palestinians, and they're talking about this one Palestinian, Saeed Alian Awad, was on his way to his land when 10 Israeli settlers attacked them near the illegal Mitzvah Yair settlement. And one of the attackers used an iron pipe. They cracked Saeed's skull, broke his jaw, and his wife suffered severe bruises on her leg. According to the United Nations, Israel's demolition of Palestinian homes in the West Bank has increased by 65%. And so they're really getting on out there, which is, good news for the Caterpillar Bulldozer Company, because they're selling more and more of those things here. Yesterday, we mentioned, was the anniversary of the killing of Rachel Corrie by bulldozer when she was attempting to protect a Palestinian home for demolition. And a Palestinian member of parliament said that Rachel Corrie's blood is a witness to Israeli crimes. Huda Naim made her comment in a statement issued on the anniversary of the death of the pro-Palestine activist who was killed, actually March 16th was the anniversary, as she was trying to stop the bulldozer from demolishing Palestinian homes in Rafah. So, and it's true, and we have to keep her memory alive. Meanwhile, President Reuven Rivlin on Thursday called on all France to reject the International Criminal Court's, quote, legally and morally bankrupt, end quote, decision to investigate Israel for war crimes in the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. So Israel's trying to line up as much international support as they can to remind the International Criminal Court that Israel is above the law and is not accountable for anything they do to anybody, anywhere, at any time. Over in Iraq, 4 roadside bombs have gone off near convoys of trucks carrying equipment belonging to U.S.-led coalition forces in Iraq's southern provinces of Al-Qadisiyah and Al-Muthana, as well as the western province of Anbar. And apparently the explosions left damage, but no reports on casualties. Okay. Righty. Over in Libya, yes, we're still messing around there. It's been a 10-year civilian bloodbath following the initial NATO airstrikes in Libya because, gosh darn that Gaddafi, he wanted to change his banking system to a state bank and a value-based currency called the gold dinar, and all of Africa wanted to follow him on that. And by golly, you don't tick off the Federal Reserve without facing the consequences, and the Libyan people have been facing those consequences now for 10 years. Article coming on out of the American Conservative. Joe Biden must pressure Saudi Arabia to end the war on Yemen. And they're saying that Joe Biden has pulled the U.S. back from supporting Saudi Arabia's war against Yemen. But it's time to basically say it's over and done with. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials, and we will be right back.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Politicians and preachers once sometimes told the truth. We didn't throw war's first stone and sacrifice our finest youth. With no video games or cell phones, a house felt like a home. Children fought and played together instead of on a computer alone. Big McDonald.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about the international news here. And Africa is definitely heating up. We were talking yesterday about U.S. Special Forces going into Mozambique. And there has been another clash between troops and militia in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 30 people dead, 11 of them civilians, died as a result of 2 days of fighting between the government forces and a militia in the province of Ituri. Now, the area is located in the territory of Jugu, around 35 miles from Ituri's capital, Bunia. It's rich in gold, and Codeco has been accused by local civil groups of illegally extracting the precious metal. Yes, I'm not surprised about that at all. Okay. Over in Myanmar, the children of the people behind the junta are now being hounded abroad because they have been outed by an online campaign to increase the pressure on the junta to surrender and allow the former government of Myanmar, which stole the last election, back into power. And I can understand why the U.S. is pushing as hard on this, because if the junta succeeds in reversing an illegal election, it might give the American people uppity ideas. Alrighty, the United States is asking for life in prison for the brother of the president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, and they're saying he should be sentenced to life in prison for running a state-sponsored drug trafficking conspiracy with the nation's current leader. Now, boy, that should sound really familiar when you get back to Gary Webb and Dark Alliance and all the CIA cocaine running that was going on out of Arkansas under the Clintons. But by golly, it's okay for the United States to do this kind of stuff, but definitely, it's bad for the rest of it. It's bad competition here. We won't do that. Over in Syria, they're getting ready for an election there. And the United States is convincing all of its allies to say they're absolutely not going to go along with the results of the election. And the objective there is, I think they want to keep Assad in power because they have spent all these years demonizing him. And if he's replaced by a newly elected leader, they're going to have to start all over again to try and justify continued war inside Syria. Well, the United States has now changed their tune, saying the Biden administration will recognize the result of the election as long as the voting is free, fair, and supervised by the United Nations and truly represents all of Syrian society. And I mean, look who's talking. Talk about pot calling the kettle black here. Story coming on out of Zero Hedge asking if Turkey is pursuing nuclear weapons or not. Now, most people would say no, they're not doing that. Turkey is a NATO member, and there are 50 U.S. B-61 gravity nuclear bombs stored on its territory at Incirlik Air Force Base. Now, Turkey is a party to the treaty, the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, and has ratified the treaty on the complete prohibition of nuclear testing. However, Erdogan is very close to Pakistan, which does like to share/sell its nuclear technology. And it's entirely possible Pakistan might be willing to sell a bomb to Turkey, much as the way Israel was caught trying to sell nuclear weapons to the former government of South Africa. Story coming on out of Stripes, U.S. troops are practicing island warfare concepts designed to control the Western Pacific sea lanes of communication. And this is basically a repeat of what the United States had to go through during World War II in that Pacific War, the island hopping campaign, getting closer and closer to be within range of Japan. In this case, though, they're getting ready because China is the new villain. The Chinese dragons are bad, and so forth and so on here. Raytheon is getting ready to deliver the first of the U.S. Navy's new Block 5 Tomahawk land attack missile. This is an upgraded version, and apparently this version, along with being a land attack missile, will double as an anti-ship missile at extended ranges. And it will be expected to hit surface ships in Tomahawk ranges in excess of 1,000 miles with the integration of a new seeker. And it will also integrate a new warhead with a broader range of capabilities, including greater penetrating power. Now, some of the Tomahawks are capable of carrying nuclear warheads, it must be remembered. Story coming on out of Defense News, the U.S. Army is prepping robotic combat vehicles for a big test with soldiers in 2022. The Army has taken receipt of its light and medium robotic combat vehicles, RCVs, from industry teams, and it's putting them through the paces this year ahead of a major company-level soldier assessment in 2022. I guess the main thing is they want to make sure they don't shoot the friendlies. So the RCV/L, the light version, is a diesel-electric hybrid with a gross vehicle weight of no more than 8,500 pounds and a maximum payload of no more than 7,000 pounds, boasting a top speed of about 40 miles per hour. That will be interesting to see out there. After all that we have seen with the boondoggles of American weapons here, there is now a study underway on restarting production of the F-22, which had its own slew of problems, including asphyxiating its pilots above a certain altitude, which I'm presuming that they have fixed. But now they're talking about the cost and feasibility of restarting the F-22 production. They're saying it may be a little bit difficult to do because all of the manufacturing jigs for the aircraft were supposed to be stored, and it's now come on out that they have been scrapped for junk. So it's basically starting the production line from scratch with all of the attendant costs. Alrighty, story coming on out of Defense News again. Estimated development costs for the F-35's modernization program increased by $1.9 billion in just a year. It's time for people to admit the F-35 is a boondoggle. Lots of really good ideas in it. The implementation just didn't work on out. The engineering was not very good at all. I remember a story a while back that the internal cannon is actually too powerful and when fired can bend the frame of the F-35, which of course would destroy its accuracy almost immediately. But they're starting this F-35 modernization program, which is a fancy word for we're going to try and fix all the problems. And the money just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up. Meanwhile, in Russia, they have built an anti-drone system capable of capturing an unmanned aerial vehicle in the air by trapping it with a net. Now, the device involves the deployment of a net-inclusive guided missile, has been developed by the scientists at the All-Russian Research Institute of Technical Physics in Snezhinsk, I can't pronounce this, Chelyabinsk, Russian news agency Novosti reported. And the guided missile, once released toward a drone, releases a container with a trap net, including attached weights in the corners to capture the UAV. Well, that sounds kind of cool. Like I said, I'm opposed to war, but they do have some cool toys out there. All right, let's talk about the economic news here. Story coming out of shtfplan.com. Joe Biden has proposed a tax increase on you, the American people, of $1 trillion. And he's hoping that after giving you a pittance of stimulus money, that you will basically go along with paying them, more of what you earn. They're harvesting more of your laboring energy for the war machine. Taxation is often viewed as theft. It's viewed as a form of control. The ability to tax is the ability to destroy. Obviously, if they're able to take your money, they are your master and you are their serf. A little bit of good news for people who like to delay things and leave them till the last minute. The IRS has announced that this year's tax filing deadline is May 17th. They're saying it's because of COVID-related changes, but the other reality is that they are dealing with a huge backlog of past tax returns that they are having trouble processing. And they're saying that if you make your tax payments by May 17 instead of April 15th, there will be no penalties or additional interest. You don't need to file any form or contact the IRS. The delay to May 17th is fully automatic. Okay. There appears to be, according to Investment Watch blog, a run going on the COMEX, and there's supposed to be a monster delivery month in gold, and they may not have enough gold for the contracts. But as one of our callers reminded us the other day, by law, COMEX is allowed to reimburse those contracts for cash. You know, that pretty printed piece of paper with all the colored ink on it. And so if you contracted for so much gold to be delivered this month, what you will get is what that gold would be worth right now at the spot price instead of the physical metal. And the problem with the spot price is it's being manipulated. We reported on that yesterday. Getting on to immigration and border security here. After rolling out the blue carpet, Joe Biden is now begging Mexico to stop the migrants flooding to the border. After days of saying there's no crisis, there's no crisis, there's no crisis, Biden came on in saying he's going to reverse Trump's immigration policies. You'll have a pathway to citizenship, and there is now this flood of illegal immigrants at the border, which the Border Patrol lacks the resources to deal with. Now Biden, through Mexico, is telling to stop coming after begging Mexico's president to help stem the flood of illegal migrants. And according to the New York Times, after Biden halted construction on the border wall, stopped turning away children, and proposed a pathway to citizenship, the surge in migrants has overwhelmed the Biden administration's ability to process them. Mexico is apparently agreeable to this. They are planning a massive crackdown on illegal immigration after the crisis that has erupted underneath Biden. Jen Psaki was doing a press conference yesterday and had a little slip-up referring to the border situation as a crisis, then correcting herself and saying it's a challenge. Because you're not supposed to use that C word when you're talking about the border down there. One little detail coming from the immigration surge. A 54-year-old man from Mexico was caught trying to cross illegally into the United States at the border in California, was previously convicted of rape, and had been deported once before. Well, I guess he's a great believer in that saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. The House Democrats have voted to give Dreamers a gateway to citizenship with help from just 9 Republicans passing the bill. The good news is it faces an uphill climb in the Senate. Okay. This next story really angers me, and it should anger you. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made a speech yesterday on the House floor basically saying the illegal migrants brought to the United States by their illegal migrant parents are the true and legitimate heirs of the founding fathers of this country. And that is, to my mind, a ridiculous statement. She made her claims as Democrats prepared to vote through an amnesty for at least 3 million migrants who are now labeled under several different categories, probably to keep you from seeing just how many there really are all in one number. And they include the many illegals who were brought to the United States as children by their parents. Democrats refer to the child arrivals as dreamers, even though Americans are also dreamers. Now, being a descendant on my mother's side from a signer of the Declaration, I would say that I'm more of a legitimate heir to the founding fathers than these illegal immigrants are. Meanwhile, reporters are demanding to know why they have zero access to the border crisis. Well, that's because the White House doesn't want them saying that's what's going on down there. And Democratic Representative Linda Sanchez of California says it's not appropriate for the press to see inside the child migrant facilities at the borders. Okay. Now, Governor DeSantis, again, down there in Florida, is saying critical race theory will not be taught in Florida schools because it teaches kids to hate their country and to hate each other. I really like DeSantis. I'm liking him more and more. Florida is showing how individual states will have to wage their own war to defeat the madness of critical race theory. And this starts out repeating the previous story. DeSantis has signaled his intent not to have critical race theory taught in the state schools. More governors need to follow his lead, as it's clear the federal government will do nothing to prevent it. Quite the contrary, they're openly and actively encouraging it. All right. This one I really like here. There's this anti-racist workshop being held at the University of Iowa. And it's a virtual anti-racist workshop, and they had a variety of speakers, one of whom, Felicia Chavez, basically came on out and said that they won't teach white authors. And so, to sum up this entire story in one sentence, two things I can't stand: racism and white people. That's really what's coming across there. Another story, this from Information Liberation. Whiteness is a pandemic, and the only way to stop it is to locate it, isolate it, extract it, and kill it, according to The Root's Damon Young. And Young wrote this column in response to a white guy with a sex addiction allegedly killing 6 Asian women and 2 white men. This is the first we've heard what their ethnicity was at massage parlors in Atlanta. So they're still out there trying to take this sex addict murder and turn it into a racial issue. And they're being so open and blatant and heavy-handed about it, people are noticing that's what's going on. This guy said it had nothing to do with race. He was a sex addict, and he viewed the adult businesses as a temptation he could not resist, and so he went on out on a shooting spree. Not the way to deal with the problem, I will grant you. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love, It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxy Silver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened? What really happened?
And welcome back to our show here. And over at the University of Pennsylvania, they have over 750 registered student groups that are being allowed to host virtual events during the pandemic. But the groups for hunting, archery, and shooting are being denied permission for even virtual activities. And what a shock that is, because when I went to school, which is admittedly a long time ago, you know, shooting was allowed, encouraged. There were gun safety classes. There was a gun club. When I went to college, I was on the varsity archery team. And now it's all, it's pointy things. We can't let people handle arrows. They might stab themselves. They might put out an eye. You know, and really, today the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education called on the University of Pennsylvania to stop engaging in viewpoint discrimination and promptly process the student's application for recognition, because this is supposed to be an educational institution, and there are students interested in learning about hunting, archery, and shooting. Those are good things to know, especially if there is a serious food crisis in the near future. Kansas has become the fourth state now to pass a bill banning transgender girls and women from competing in female sports. So that we're seeing a big conservative pushback right now, and I think it's going to take hold and it's going to accelerate going into the future. On the other hand, you have other stories like this, where Catalina Enriquez, who's a biological male, just won the Miss Silver State USA pageant in Nevada. And this event is considered the biggest preliminary competition for the Miss Nevada USA pageant and eventually the Miss USA and Miss Universe competition. And it definitely shows that with enough chemistry and surgery that anybody can look like anything. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of beauty pageants in general. I'm absolutely appalled at those child beauty pageants, but that's another story entirely. But I would think that outside of diet and exercise, there ought to be a prohibition on chemical intervention, the way they do with the Olympics, and certainly reasonable limits on surgical operations on the contestants. I really do. Otherwise, you're not judging the contestants, you're judging their doctors and pharmacists. Okay. We were talking the other day about how cybercrime is just reaching incredible ways. And there's a story over in Ars Technica saying that one of the big problems that is leading to so many denial of service attacks, there are 4,300 publicly reachable servers, and they can be used and hijacked for denial of service attacks anywhere in the world. And we all know how bad those can be. I've had a few of those myself. Meanwhile, hackers are targeting U.S. banks, and hardware may give them an open door. All right, we got to take a break for station identification. We're going to open up the phone lines, area code 512-248-8252, and we'll be right back.
Hey there, are you going to wait till the cows come home to get your new ease-off drop-and lift?
What in the world is an ease-off drop-and lift?
Our ease-off is a new tool to increase production for your meat processing company that will get that whole hog or half a beef on or off your rail with our remote control.
That sounds great, but can I afford it?
Sure, and the ease-off installs fast. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue, speed up your line, and increase profits.
Okay, I'm convinced. Where can I get my ease-off?
Go to easeoff.com. That's EAZEOFF.com. And hurry, because we're offering free shipping for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too.
Ease-off, LLC, 417-932-6419.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, area code 512-248-8252, and we're going to start with Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Did you see the video of that exchange between the Chinese diplomats and the Secretary of State?
I didn't see the video, no.
It was humiliating. I watched that, and I had to think that after that exchange, the ambassador or the Secretary of State probably had to ask for a timeout so he could change his pants.
Yeah,
that was a humiliating butt kicking that he got there.
Well, good. I think our whole government needs a good dose of humility.
Absolutely, but it goes to show you just how inept these idiots are.
Yes.
I mean, on the one hand, Biden's bragging about he insults Putin. And he's threatening war with Putin. So what did Putin do? He recalled the Russian ambassador, and he called Biden's bluff. He said let's have a live debate, open debate. Well, that's not going to happen, of course. And then they pull this stunt with China, and you have to wonder how many time bombs are they going to set off around the world? These people are crazy.
They are.
They're inept and they're crazy, and people are watching us. Have got to be just dismayed. I've been reading comments all day about that, and I haven't read one comment anywhere that was a positive assessment of what the United States those idiots from the United States did up there in Alaska. Just one negative comment after another. Good Lord! I mean, I'm pretty sure that those people. That Blinken and his crew up there,
yes,
were absolutely gobsmacked. They were absolutely humiliated, and I want to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think the time has come, and it's definitely needed.
Yeah. Anyway, you might want to watch that video. There's a 4.5 minute clip. It starts off with Blinken laying down the law to the Chinese about what they're going to talk about and what the agenda is going to be. And the Chinese came right back at him, and they said, you have no room to talk. The United States has long had human rights issues. And they pointed out that issues that organizations like Black Lives Matter or whatever are around because of a long history
Yes.
of racial inequality and human rights issues in the United States. There was really nothing they could say in response to that. Blinken tried his best to tap dance around it, but the damage had been done by that point. They just waylaid him.
Yeah.
So anyway, look at it. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll make a point of tracking that one down. Thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch to Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Canada has a long history of treating the indigenous people of this country very poorly as well. So, they've broken every treaty they've ever signed. Anyway, when you were mentioning these freak shows that think they can, undergo the knife and undergo this hormone therapy, they're delusional. It is a mass. There's no way that a woman or a man can change their sex. It's absolutely impossible.
It's encoded in the DNA.
Exactly. And not only that, but if you look at these people, and there are a lot of them now, and I'm not just talking about the ones that are trying to, be something they're not, although they all are. The ones that try this surgery to look different. They all look the same. They all look like cartoon caricatures.
Yes.
Of that Kardashian chick, right?
Yes.
With the big butt, right? And,
yes.
And the fake eyelashes, and the penciled-in eyebrows, and the sculpted, shaved-down noses, and it's just an absolute horrible look. I don't find it appealing whatsoever. They look like cartoons.
Yes.
It's ugly. It's anyone that does something like this, I'm serious. They really, or are considering it, they should go see a psychiatrist because they obviously suffer from low self-esteem, first and foremost. I mean, this is, and the doctors love it. They love this stuff, especially the plastic surgeons.
Oh, yeah. Huge amounts of money.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they love this stuff. They love it. And you know what? Those people, they should be put up against the wall because they're the first ones that should go. It's bad enough that they prey on these poor people that, for some reason or another, think that they're ugly. Or they don't fit in to what society's norms are. Mike, there are no norms anymore.
Okay.
Anything goes now. These My Little Pony kids that, even dyeing their hair pink and purple and all these other silly colors and putting needles through their, through their nose and their lips and everywhere else. My good God, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I never will.
Well, the big dark secret of the transgender movement is these men and women will go through these hormone treatments and surgeries thinking it's going to fix all the problems with their lives, and then they get on the other side of it and realize that no, this is not making their lives any better. And of course, they can't go back, and they're suffering from trans regret. And apparently, it's hitting quite a few of these people. But that's that's a big, deep, dark secret. Nobody wants to admit it. In fact, those who are trying to report on it as a warning to be very, very, very sure you want to do this thing, they're being censored, they're being defunded, they're being deplatformed.
Oh yeah, exactly. The people that are talking about this, calling out this sham,
yes,
are the ones that are suffering even more than these idiotic parents, these wokers that think their child is something that they're not. And
yeah,
they push them into this stuff.
To me, that's child abuse.
It is. Mike. It's no different than than actually, this genitalia manipulation that people are talking about. That
The
some cultures
mutilation,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, it's no different. It's absolutely no different whatsoever. Children, they should not be pushed into this. And on top of that, honestly, I'm at the point now where I think there's just no hope. I don't think there's any hope, because what we're seeing now is something that I would not have dreamed of even just 20 years ago. Even in 2000, I would not have dreamed that we could have digressed this far and devolved this far into a bunch of stupid, idiotic savages. And that's where we're going. It's shameful.
Yes.
It's absolutely a shame.
It's the fall of an empire.
That's all I got.
Yep.
Well, it's the whole world that's falling.
Well, it looks like the whole world is falling, but I think it really is mostly the United States as an empire in decline, and they're thrashing about trying to live on past glories, and the rest of the world is saying, no, you're not what you used to be. Great Britain went through the same thing when they were losing their empire, and they tried to keep on going like, the sun never sets on the British Empire, until finally the rest of the world said, no, you're not what you used to be, and we're going to switch from the pound sterling to the dollar as the international currency.
Yeah, luckily that was like 75 years ago, and we didn't have all this, this media and these stupid little devices that people are getting tracked off of, and their data monetized, and blah, blah, blah. It's just on and on and on. Anyway, that's all I got, Mike. Thanks a lot for your time.
All right,
have a good one.
Thanks an awful lot. We're going to go to Joseph in North Carolina. Hello, Joseph. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. First, I wanted to bring up the American gold and silver numismatic coins. Yesterday, I had mentioned that was a safe hedge against the confiscation.
Yes.
Against gold confiscation historically.
Okay, Joseph, calm down, slow down, and just tell us what you want to tell us.
Yeah. So I was just going to say the 1933 Roosevelt Gold Confiscation Act omitted gold and silver numismatic coins.
Yes, they did. I got the correction on that one. And whether a new gold confiscation or silver confiscation would have that grandfathered in or not is very much up in the air. Given that there are no modern silver currency coins in circulation, I would say that probably a silver grab would include those numismatic values. And again, you'd be given the numismatic value of the coin in a stack of pretty printed paper.
All right. Well, I also wanted to go back to the issue of moral relativity.
Yes.
I firmly believe that what we're seeing right now is just merely our country sliding down the slope of moral relativity. Until we can come to an objective basis for morality, then we're just going to continue to do this. And I wanted to address your comment yesterday about God doing a stand-up job. That sort of moral indictment is inherently fallacious when you are a moral relativist. So unless you have any,
let me respond to that. Let me respond to that. I mean, look at the world that we're seeing around us, including all the transgender nonsense, stolen elections, wars all over the planet. People are starving and dying for pointless reasons. This is not the quality work we expect on the resume of a supreme being.
Yeah, I can understand that, but we also have to understand that the supreme being that we're talking about is also a righteous and just being. And he has clearly laid out his law, and he said that if there's a transgression of this law, there will be consequences. And by us constantly transgressing his law, and in fact not even recognizing it,
okay, then Joseph,
we're basically
Joseph, how do you explain the fact that Christians around the world are being persecuted right now?
Well, that was also said it would. It was also said that would happen too. That we would be persecuted for Christ's sake. And that actually plays into God's plan of the spreading of the gospel throughout the world. Because whenever we see a mass persecution of Christians, we see shortly after that mass revival.
Okay, well, Joseph,
Joseph,
we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. And I've got the phone lines are full right now, so thank you for the phone call. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to switch over to Kevin in West Virginia. Hello, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mr. Mike. I have a few things on my mind. The first one was Joe Biden falling up the steps to Air Force One.
Yes.
I should probably feel bad, but I laughed my butt off. I laughed, and it was hysterical to me because it's implemented to how the United States is today. And I want to jump over to Anthony Blinken. I think Anthony Blinken is a blinking idiot. I mean, the Chinese show no respect towards him. I mean, how can you respect this Biden administration? I mean, we're the laughing stock around the world. Your previous caller was, no, not him, but the one before, talking about transgender people. Look who they're trying to put as head of health safety or whatever that thing is.
Yes.
The person, Rachel Levine, don't even know if she wants to be a guy or girl. Do you really think I'm going to take any health or mental health advice from that? Plus, that thing has more chins than Chinatown. I ain't taking no health anything from that thing. Like,
I was going to say, I mean, I'm not going to touch her transgender, it's transgender, but she doesn't look like she makes good health decisions. And so as a result, again, it lacks a certain credibility.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what I wanted to ask, I think we're in serious trouble, but one of the questions that I do have, and I haven't seen this in the Constitution, but one of my thoughts are, you know how we can recall senators and recall Congress critters?
Yes.
Can we recall the president? Is that possible? Is that in the Constitution anywhere?
Well, I think it would be possible, with a public referendum, and that means we'd have to collect about, signatures from about 60% of the American people to force the recall. And I don't know, of course, the powers that be would resist that, and just the way Governor Newsom is trying to prevent the recall in his state.
I think we should do it. What else do we have to lose? Let's recall the president, let's recall Kamala Harris, and let's recall Nancy Pelosi and get these three people out.
Yes.
I think we can do this. I think there's enough Americans that know the right thing to do, and this is the right thing to do. Let's do it. What do we have to lose?
We have nothing left to lose here. We're really at that point right now. I mean, the taxes are going way, way up. We're looking at a food crisis. We're looking at a global war. We're seeing our society go insane. Of course, I have come to the conclusion that all of this nonsense about Black Lives Matter and Antifa and critical race theory and transgenderism and everything is just confetti that's being thrown in front of our eyes to obscure the fact that this country is being badly managed. And I think it is definitely time for the American people to get angry enough to stand up and say, look, this is not working out for us.
And when you say badly managed, I think it's badly managed on purpose. I think it's on purpose. I don't think it's mismanagement. They're doing this on purpose. I mean, this is absolute, and I wonder on a daily basis if I wake up in in an alternate reality. It's like, what reality did I wake up in today?
Yeah.
Is this real or is this? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels the same way I feel, but I don't know how to do this. But I'm willing, if anybody wants to work with me, starting a referendum to make Joe Biden step down and Kamala Harris step down, and let's get that crypt keeper Nancy Pelosi out of office too, out of Speaker of the House. I mean,
I don't think Biden's going to be in office much longer anyway. Kamala Harris is doing the job, and I think they're just waiting for an opportune moment where they can say, 25th Amendment, or Biden issues his resignation, and Kamala Harris gets the title to go with the job she's apparently already doing.
Well, I agree 100%. But the thing with Kamala Harris, she isn't even a natural born citizen. I guess the Constitution doesn't matter anymore. I guess that's what.
Yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, sir. I just wanted to rant a little bit and put a little bit of my 2 cents in. God bless you, Mike, and your beautiful wife, Claire. You guys do an awesome job. I love hearing you guys talk every day. I just wish the best for you. I hope you don't have any bad reactions from your guys' vaccine that you took. I will pray that you guys don't have any bad reactions. But thank you so much for your time, kind sir, and you have a great and wonderful day.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to go to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Interesting topic on this transgenderism and the basic degradation of any sort of morality that our culture and our society used to hold, dear when we were growing up. How unheard of would it be for gay marriage? I mean, how unheard of it would it be for this transgenderism and people declaring themselves, female? They can use a women's locker room or restroom, or men competing in women's sports, or adoption of the Boy Scouts was ruined by having gay scoutmasters.
Yes, it did wreck the place.
But it was done on purpose. By the way, who did that? Well, look, the Southern Poverty Law Center, among other. You know who those people really are.
I know who they are.
And when you look at it, Mike, when I heard read an article this morning where a guy in Britain divorced with about an 8 or 9 year old girl.
Okay, Peter, I got to put you on hold.
Yeah.
Okay, don't hang up. I'm going to come right back after these words from our sponsors.
Have you been looking for a trusted long-term storable food company? We have a solution for you. Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our line of resealable fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Our food is completely GMO-free, and our stringent quality controls, plus testing for heavy metals, makes us unique in the storable foods market. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. When you purchase from simplycleanfoods.net, not only will you be receiving high-quality food, but you will also be supporting veterans in need across the country and those who are affected by natural disasters. Right now, Amazon Prime members will receive fast 2-day shipping. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's simplycleanfoods.net. But do it today.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus.
$500 gets you 2 Commander memberships at Front Sight. $500 for 2 Commander memberships. Give one to whomever you would like.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate.
Okay, welcome back to our show here, and we're still talking with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, if you could pick it up where you left off.
Yeah, I saw this or read an article this morning, Mike, that was out of Britain, and it was a divorced husband with about an 8 or 9 year old daughter who had lost custody in the custody battle of his daughter. His woke wife wanted to put his daughter through a gender transformation, turn her into a boy, and was having her injected with massive amounts of testosterone and so on. He tried to stop this in the worst way, and did everything he could. It made the news over there.
I remember.
This guy was arrested, Mike, and the judge, with a Muslim-sounding name to the judge, actually jailed this guy for calling his daughter a daughter and not calling him or the daughter a guy, right? And so he was jailed for using the wrong word to, gender word.
Yes.
And you wonder where all this stuff comes from, Mike. And when how is culture set? And my answer would be the media.
Yes.
The media sets it, the movies, the TV, the radio, pop, music, and what's acceptable from, gangster rap, kill a cop, get the hoe kind of thing, which has been prevalent for years. And all this stuff which is normalized by Hollywood and normalized by the media as well. And remember a couple of years ago, Mike, when that Asian woman was appointed to the editorial advisory board of the New York Times, who was anti-white as could be.
Yes.
And now that was a couple of years back, but that was one of the first shots across the cultural, saying put a target on white people's back, for instance. And who did it? Well, in this case, it was the New York Times. Who runs Hollywood? Well, look who runs Hollywood. Look who dominates, who the big porn barons are, who run the porn industry.
Yes.
And it's all this is permeated by the same people, frankly, and have been setting these cultural mores, including the music industry, for years. And we wonder why we have a target on our back, why, everybody's confused about their gender, why, everything. I mean, that's where the culture comes from. That's what says it's okay.
Yes.
Well, that's my point, Mike.
And unfortunately, the vast majority of the American people, especially the younger crowd, they're easy to lead, by mass media, which has, shall we say, the bully pulpit or the glitter pulpit.
Yeah, it's everywhere, but listen, everything, literally everything that we see and read and hear.
Yes.
Is controlled by the same group of people.
Yes, it is.
Including the currency that we transact all our business with, and what we can see and get off the internet on our searches and everything else is controlled by the same people. And we wonder where this comes from. and how all this can take place in literally 1 or 2 generations, where we can go from 90% Caucasian or European to 60% and plunging fast to the horrorscape, which is our culture and our government right now. I'm pointing the finger directly at you-know-who.
Yes, I get that.
That's who did it, frankly. So, anyways, that's my comment, Mike.
Okay, well, thank you very much here, and let's see, I'm trying to readjust my volume here for some other things. All right, here we are. All right, and let's see if that's going to work better. A little better. Okay. All right, so, yeah, there we are, and we're going to go to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. Actually, Tom, we're coming up here on a commercial break, so you can get started, but I'm going to cut you off here in about 45 seconds.
No problem, Michael. Listen, first off, right on Kevin and right on Peter. The last 2 calls are right on the money. Right on. And, Kevin, I feel you, brother. I feel you when it's like Alderman Universe every other day. When you wake up, it's like, so where are you? You don't even know where the heck you are anymore. Mike and Peter is right on the money, but why doesn't he use the word Zog? Why doesn't he use that word? Because that's exactly what it is, Mike. Zog is destroyed in this country. They're telling their males over there. I can give you an example, Mike. They're telling their males and their women over there to breed like rabbits.
Yep.
But over here, telling the white males and the white females not to have no children. I know I can name you 15 guys, and I can give you all their first names that were beautiful men and never had children because they had this guilt complex about the Holocaust. This is what this is all about since 1945. I tell you what I think it is, Mike.
I'm a guy,
Mike, let me finish. I think 1945, the Zog has really got it in for the white
Tom, I got to cut you off.
Tom,
I got to cut you off. Stay on the line. Stay on the line. I'm going to come back to you. Just relax. Take a Valium. I'll be right back to you.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Amazon customer. It's amazing. I just ordered my 2nd bottle. In 1 month, my blood pressure dropped significantly. I no longer get chest pain after I exercise. The reviews are spot on. My target is to get off of BP meds, and if it keeps going like this, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. Amazon customer. Extendivite works great. This product has made my blood pressure and cholesterol stable. I highly recommend it. Amazon customer. Excellent herbal formula. I've been using it to keep my cardiovascular system fine-tuned. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Wall Street wizards on the land from a mental institution claim private retirement funds. Yeah, they are the best solution. But when the markets crash, we'll be asking where's the cash. Guess them folks in D.C. must be smoking Texas ash.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Tom in Florida. And Tom, before I hand the mic back to you, I am one of those men who always wanted to be a father, and it did not work out, but it had nothing to do with the Holocaust, because I don't feel guilty about the Holocaust. Whatever it was that did happen back then happened before I was born. I am, however, the world's greatest uncle, and as a matter of fact, my grandnephew was over here visiting this morning, and I was teaching him how to use a flight simulator, and the good news is one more crash and he'll qualify as an enemy ace. So Claire's laughing in the other room. So Tom, pick it up where you left off.
Well, yeah, Mike, I just want to say I'm sure you're a fantastic uncle. I know you're a great uncle, and I wish you could have been a wonderful father, because I know you would have been great at it.
Thank you.
You know what, Mike? I'm going to order some Extendivite. I'm going to have to order that. I think everybody's going to have to start ordering this stuff pretty soon for blood pressure.
Yes.
Because you're absolutely correct on that too, Mike. But, I'm going to be real calm now. I'm going to slow it down here. Peter brought out a lot of points, and so did Kevin. And now, before I want to go on what I really got to say, but let me just throw some names out, Mike, real quick, okay? Epstein, Weinstein, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
You got Bloomberg. You got what's the other imbecile that's running for president? I can't even think of it right now. You got all these Steyer. You got all these schmuckarooskies. They seem like they actually hate this country, and that ain't what Peter was saying about all the producers doing all these porno and all this other nonsense on Hollywood, all these filthy movies that don't never have a real story to it. Like Mel Gibson made Braveheart, where it actually kind of had like a narrative. And now if you were to make that movie, you'd have to have black guys in that movie because it wouldn't be politically correct. You understand where I'm coming from, Mike?
I mean, you can't get you couldn't get Moby Dick made right now. No roles for women. The colored people are all in subordinate characters, and it shows cruelty to animals.
Exactly, Mike, and you're right on the money. And let me go now what I really wanted to talk about, Mike. And this is what you should be talking about maybe a little bit later. It's going to cost almost $40 billion for this amnesty for these illegals.
Yes.
That's just the first year, Mike. It's going to be $40 billion, $35 to $40 billion. It's going to be before like $60 billion. That's one on the news network's talking about, Breitbart. Mm-hmm. So here you're going to have $60 billion for this amnesty for all these illegals. They're all going to vote Democrat, Mike. They're never going to want to be giving anything to the white Republicans because they want free handout. Give me. Why are all these people, Central Americans, coming here, Mike? They don't care about this damn Constitution, this Bill of Rights. They only care about money. I told you about the cars they're all going to have to be driving, the food they're going to consume. It's like locusts eating one cornfield to another, Mike. And you know this, and everyone in your audience knows this. Now, I will go back to what Kevin said about bumbling buffoon. The guy is what when Donald Trump was the first 3 months of his presidency, Mike, and you remember this. I want you to tell everybody in your audience, Mike, the first 3 months was unrelenting. Donald Trump had to take all kinds of cognitive tests. He had his doctor coming out from Texas.
Yes.
That Trump was crazy, and he had. You remember that? They have never.
I remember that. Yeah.
No. Yeah, they were tearing Donald Trump up a new one because he was crazy. He's got to take all these tests. The media, that Rachel mad cow disease, was talking about every night, Mike. I would switch on and watch her, and all these Lemon and all these liberal homosexuals, they're all talking about how Trump's health is crazy. He's a crazy man. And now you got Biden that haven't said a peep about this guy, Mike. This is nothing but Zog control how they're controlling this media narrative, Mike.
Yeah.
And they think, and like Peter said it, Mike. Peter said it right there. He said it in your last call. 60% we're down to, Mike, and they want us down to under 50 within the next 10 years.
Yes.
They're killing off the white males as quick as possibly can. You don't even see commercials with white women, with white men, Mike. I don't. Every time I watch a commercial, even on the History Channel, it's a black man with a white woman, or it's a white man with a black woman. And I told your show for over a year at least, black women are not happy about this, Mike.
No.
The black women want to be with their black men, man. And the white men want to be with their white women. But now, if you say that, Mike, you're a racist pig.
Yes.
They have done to our country, the minority, telling the superimposed majority what to do, which they're trying to superimpose us onto a minority. They should be held for treason, put in the clink, and to keep thrown away. What they have done to our country, Mike.
Yes.
They're telling the white males to be sissified, to be a pansy, and they have pansy down our society. And all these college kids and all these high school kids today, Mike, they don't know they don't even know what the Constitution stands for. They get more taught about the Holocaust than they do about the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. They get more schooling. I got proof, Mike. I can bring 5 kids right in front of me. Teenagers will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. So I asked them. Okay?
Yes.
My family, and they're all they say you're more taught about the Holocaust than you do about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or our founding fathers.
It should not be that way.
Okay? No, it absolutely should be, and it's not because it shouldn't be that way. But you know what, Mike? We are the majority, and like Peter said in his last call, if we don't hold that majority, Mike, we're doomed. This country is we might as well become like third world Central America, where all these people are running away from, Mike. Because basically, what is going on here is the annihilation, the takeover of a northern white European society in North America and turn it around.
Well, it's a little more straightforward than that. You've got this globalist agenda out there, and there are only 2 countries standing in the way of that, one of which is Russia, and the other is the United States.
Now, Mike, thank you. Now let me finish off. That's what I was going to bring up. Now, Vladimir Putin is going to tear bumbling Biden up when they have a debate.
Yes.
And I want everybody in your audience to understand it. Those Russians are white. They're Caucasians. That's what our Ural Mountains are. Why are we having all this hatred toward Russia when they actually have, seems like, I think they have more white people in the Russia area than we have in the United States, or it's pretty close.
Yes.
I think there's more people here of white descent, of northern white ancestral than Russia. But why would we ever want to pick, like the lady called your show the other day, she was right on the money. I think it was Lauren. How dare white men kill white men, the cousins? We're killing our cousins for what? For whom? Who are we killing each other for, Mike? For who, Mike? Why is white men...
For oil, for water, for lithium, for God?
Well, Mike, that's got to come to an end because, obviously we're going to lose our civilization. That's going to, I believe it's going to end up like the Planet of the Apes when Charlton Heston jumped off the horse with Nova on the back.
Yeah.
Freaking out looking at him when he's going nuts. And that to me, that's a scenario I've seen in my head. The Planet of the Apes in that last verse, in the first one with Charlton Heston screaming, "Damn." I can't repeat it right now because
says you blew it all up.
Yeah, he blew it all up, but he goes, he calls him, "You maniac!"
Yes.
Damn you! You blew it up. Whatever. I mean, it's fantastic how he did it, but that was awesome, and to me that was one of the most unbelievable endings in motion picture history, and really hit it home. But Mike, getting back to what I want to say, what Peter had said.
Yes.
We're losing our population numbers, but why would we dare want to go against a country like Russia, who has a bigger nuclear arsenal than us? They have just as good a space, probably a space force than we do, or close to it. I mean, and there are relatives. The Russian Caucasian, like they're our descendants. They're our relatives, basically. And we're going to go pick a fight with the Russians? Really? With our military?
Well, it doesn't even matter that Russia has more nuclear weapons than we do. If all of the deployable weapons get used at once, everybody loses that war. Anyway, Tom, we're running short on time, and I got a bunch of callers waiting on the line I need to get to.
Take my call, and great call by Kevin, like I said, and Peter for bringing a lot of it up. And bubbling Biden should be kicked out of office, Mike. He's not going to make it. Camilla's going to take that reign. You watch.
Oh, I know that's going to happen. Okay, thank you for the call. We're going to go to Mark in North Carolina. Mark, thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, you were talking before about Syria, and
this government has the gall to talk about their election.
Yes.
If this election was not only stolen, I mean, it was robbed. Is this and the man the demented fool sitting in the White House right now, occupying the White House, is actually, if you really look at the crime, it's possession of stolen property.
Yes, that includes all the tax money that's coming in.
Stolen by others, but he's occupying it, and he's the recipient of the robbery.
Yes.
And that's what it was, both a coup and a robbery. So we got the gall to tell other countries, countries like Syria or Russia,
yep,
for that matter. And by the way, I partly agree with what Tom is saying about. I definitely agree about Russia, but it's not that Russia is white or any other color. The fact of the matter is, Russia has gone back from being a communist, atheist society into a God-fearing Christian, mostly Christian, partly Muslim nation who doesn't put up with the garbage that we put up with today.
Yes.
They don't teach they wouldn't allow some a so-called doctor to perform that kind of surgery to cut a kid's private parts off or fill a kid through with dangerous hormones.
Yes.
They probably execute the doctor for that, and that's what should happen to the doctor because he's committing either murder or very close to murder, at least felonious assault when he does that. And the parents who let this happen, who even would think about doing this, should have not only take their kids away, they should be committed to a secure mental institution for doing something like that. And and again, as far as color goes, I couldn't care less about the color right now.
Yes.
I care about this constitution of this country to keep this country a free, democratic, constitutional republic. That's what I care about. I care about getting rid of the empire, and that's what's destroying this country, Mike.
Yes.
You talk about going back to 1945. Actually, that was when the baby boomers came out. That was the start of the baby boomers.
Yes.
It wasn't, we're not having babies. They were having babies. It's the me generation after that, the actual boomers themselves that started this nonsense. To say, I don't want to bring my kid into the world like this. It's too terrible. We shouldn't have that. They shouldn't have to come into this world. And you still hear this kind of garbage. Okay, you got to multiply. In order to keep a society going, you got to multiply. Otherwise, you do have to import others to come in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to have a functioning society anymore. If this is what's happening to the Japanese.
Yes.
They don't have enough. They're not having enough children, and they don't have anybody to replace the Japanese citizens either. So that's what's it's happening in a lot of Europe. You got to multiply. And like I said, I don't care what color you are. I told you, Mike, my first wife was black. Okay?
Yes.
We didn't have kids only because she wasn't capable. She had a bad pregnancy before, and she couldn't conceive anymore.
Yeah,
right?
That does happen.
I finally had my children with my third wife.
Okay.
All right. So, and I'm very, and thank God I have, thank God I have grandkids. But it doesn't matter to me what color they are. They have to be white, but I couldn't care. But I would love them just as much if they weren't. All right. That's not the problem. The problem is to teach kids what being a real American is, not somebody who loves imperialism and it thinks we should be interfering in all kinds of other countries' business or have a fleet going around the world starting trouble, but a country that takes care of itself. Yeah, we need to defend ourselves, of course, but nobody's crazy enough to attack the United States. Like Russia, we have 7,000 nuclear weapons and a means of delivery. Nobody's crazy.
We don't need 800 military bases around the world to defend this country. Those 800 bases around the world are to enforce U.S. hegemonic domination on the rest of the planet.
Absolutely. That's why I say the empire, what I call the evil empire.
Yes.
The same thing with NATO. We don't need to be in NATO. Russia's no threat to Europe anymore. They're not out to start war. Now they're prepared to deal with it if somebody starts with them. They're not going to let what happened in the beginning of World War II when the Nazis invaded them and almost beat them until they were able to regroup with the help of winter in the beginning, okay?
Yeah, I
And
think
then
the Nazis got with, 20 miles from Moscow before they were stopped?
something like that, yeah. And they could already see the gates of Moscow. And then, of course, the Russians came back. The military reform. They had one of the great generals, General Zhukov, maybe the great general World War II. It's hard to say. And they turned the tide. But that's, But as far as this country goes, we need to stop it. We need to stop. You don't need 800 bases. We don't need any bases. Let's take care of this country.
Yes.
Let's take care of this country's problems. And then maybe we'd have a more peaceful society and a more orderly society if that happened. And we've got to do something about the crooks that keep taking over this country.
Yes.
We've got to do something about it. I think most of these people are not only corrupt, I think they're I think there's something mentally wrong with them. And it starts, of course, with the imposter in the White House. I think so many of them are on drugs, probably mind-altering drugs, psych meds.
Yes.
Prozac. I don't even know some of the other names. God knows what kind of drugs these people run. You look at somebody like a Nancy Pelosi. She's drugged up.
Yep.
She's a zombie, too. She's about as bad as Biden. Not quite, but she's pretty much there. The other one, Shyster there in the, Schumer there in the Senate. He's not much better. And then, of course, the other clown there, Connell, isn't any better either. So this is the problem, Mike. We've got to get this country together. We've got to stop this corruption. We've got to start going back to being a constitutional republic.
We do.
Stop
Well, that's what I've been working for all these 30 years.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Stop hating on each other, or, black, white, brown, yellow, whatever. Start getting along with each other. Start understanding we're sharing this country. We better get this country together, or we won't have a country anymore.
Well,
right?
I think we're well on our way to that right now. And like I said, right now, the best possible outcome is for the current government to go through a Soviet Union-style collapse, paving the way for a new government and a new country on this land. And, at this point, I don't think the current situation is salvageable. I think this country is doomed. And the best thing that we can do is, plan and prepare for what kind of a country we're going to want to take its place. All right, listen, Mark, I got
another thing, Mike.
Real quick.
We need our own Putin then if that happens.
Yes.
Otherwise, God knows where we go. Okay, that's what saved Russia. We need a man like that. All right, that's all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you, and we're coming up on our next commercial break. We're going to start with Bruce in Texas. Bruce, I'm going to have to take you through the commercial break. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick about it. One of your callers mentioned there was a judge in British Columbia that jailed a father for misgendering his daughter.
Yes.
And he said that it sounded like she had an Arab or Middle Eastern name. Actually, she appears she could be Jewish, but it's hard to pin down. Her name is Francesca Marzari, or Italian.
Okay.
And her mother was an attorney as well, so she's not some recent transplant from the Middle East.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification here. And we're going to have to take a break for commercials. Do you have more for us?
Yes, I have a little bit more.
All right, a little bit more. Then stay on the line, and we're going to come right back to you after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extendivite has proven time and again it really works. Here's a testimonial from Amazon.com. I am only 40, but I have put my body through hell working in manufacturing for 20 years. I recently started to notice a buzzing feeling along with a stuttering sensation with my heart. I had a full cardio stress done, which I passed. I decided to try Extendivite after getting the jingle stuck in my head. Halfway through the bottle, I really did notice a difference. After getting home from work, I would just sit in a chair for a few hours feeling like crap, and this stuff reduced that feeling along with heart discomfort to almost nothing. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. That's HEARTDROP.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Please view, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stop Terrorism. Please contact us if you or anyone you know who wants to be on our show at thetruthpharmacy@gmail.com. Keep it real. Take the red pill.
Forced to carry his own cross while we drive nails in his coffin. You might say it is routine. It happens far too often. A decorated soldier, veteran of the war. Who would have thought that he would be?
And welcome back to our show, last segment of our program on this Friday. And we're talking with Bruce in Texas. Hello, Bruce. Pick up where you left off.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I got to Francisca, that judge there.
Mm-hmm.
You notice George Soros publicly named, I think during the Davos conference, or one of those big think tank groups, that China Z is the greatest enemy of the West. You recall hearing about that?
Yes, I heard that.
You did hear that. I'm sure most of the audience did too. Okay, they don't have the issues that we have as far as destruction of the society and mixing of the sexes and all that. I mean, and it's a communist nation, you know. Also, Iran doesn't tolerate it either. They, if someone rapes a young boy, they get hung, you know, and it doesn't take too long for them to do that. On the other hand, you have the Lutheran Church here, the United Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, and almost all the Christian churches. I don't know what are the exceptions, except for maybe Westboro Baptist Church. They all seem to bend over backwards for global homo. So I think this whole idea that, you know, Christianity is a cure, I think it's just too flexible. There's too much acceptance. There's too much universal love and stuff in the Bible for it to hold up. And I'm going to send a message to Joseph. If you want to get close to God, go spend a week or two in the forest somewhere and leave behind your gold and your book. And that'll put you closer to God's creation than anything that you can read. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch to Marco in Alabama. Marco, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Michael? I haven't called into the show for a while, dude, because you know it's just getting more painful every day. You know, I mean, the grand scheme in all of this is that it's getting harder and harder to find sympathy with conservatives when they allow what is going on in this country to continue to fester. I mean, all of this, the COVID-19 vaccine hoax, transgenders in sports. All of this is happening because none of you have the courage to say no and mean it. None of you have the courage, dude, to stand up, not your candy preacher. I mean, sitting here allowing gay marriage, dude, to run rampant in the church. And nobody, dude, is going to do anything. And I'm just sitting here tired of waiting for the real men in this country to stand up. I mean, how much longer can you people sit here and see that our country's being invaded when you're sitting there seeing these people, dude, walk into our border and they're not even being tested for, the fake virus or whatever, dude. And they're just being let in, given benefits. They're taking from you. The Great Reset, dude, is all about control, and yet you sit there and do nothing. And all that stuff, man, it is harder to find sympathy when you turn on your radio dial and just hear conservatives complain all the time. We know what we need to do. Why are we not doing it? And all that stuff. Are you people scared?
Marco?
Are you people scared?
Marco, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to let you go. We're at the end of the program. There should be some music playing, but stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate and have yourself a really good weekend. I'm going to keep on talking until I hear some sound coming back from the other way. There's the music. Okay, there we are. So have a really good, safe weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.